Senator Well District proposed a legislation to repeal and replace the no-child housing ordinance. And I think these efforts were to make it better. That's what the intention for it. I think sometimes there's miscommunication, but we've been working with the housing ordinance, their attorney, our attorney, and they've been working at it to make sure that we're not going to hurt the housing authority we violate the laws that they have with the hospital, and making sure that the housing authority is better equipped, I guess, so to speak, for the future. That's all it is. We're trying to update it. So I just kind of give a brief overview of the ordinance, maybe, or maybe move the old one, or whichever way we want to go first.
I just wanted to mention that the old ordinance, just like Speaker stated, was 77. It's clearly outdated. There's a lot of issues in there that need to be brought up to speed with the new Constitution. There's been quite a need to revise the housing ordinance so that it serves the constituents, the renters, in an appropriate manner while providing opportunities to get housing. And so those were some real key things that we looked at in revising that ordinance. So when that came to the floor, and I believe that came 2014, it was proposed by a petition of voters from the Wyola district. So that came in introduced as to amend that old 77 ordinance. So the legislature began taking up the issue again this last fall, winter. Dennis has been working a lot on that ordinance and trying to get it updated. During our regular session for January, we began having a committee meeting on it. And there were some issues that came up whereby we couldn't deal with it at the time. We knew that we needed more work on it. So the suggestion came up that we go out to the districts and get input on the housing ordinance. So as your speaker mentioned earlier, we go by the rules of order for the legislature. Senator Hill from the Reno district made a motion that day that we move this to the districts for the hearings under Rule 20 of the legislature. So actually today is your opportunity to give input on what you would like to see in the housing ordinance. What the attorneys need to know, what your leadership needs to know, is what are the problems you have with housing? What kind of improvements would you like to see? And obviously that kind of looks like a big mountain to accomplish, but we want to start with the voice of the people to bring that information in. So today is your opportunity to do that. You can make comments on, I believe on the website in the future, if you can get on the legislative website, the internet. Also contact your leadership on the new changes that you would like to see in the housing ordinance. We all know what the problems are out there, so we're going to hopefully try to tackle that by beginning with the people one. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis because he's been working the intricate processes of bringing the issues of the housing ordinance forward and following the federal law quite closely on making sure that the new ordinance complies with all the federal regulations and also balancing that out with the rights of our constituents, renters, or families.
So I guess I should start by saying that I initially proposed that if we were going to update the ordinance, that we should look at the old ordinance, the existing housing ordinance, and identify what's not working, and then build into it whatever protections or additional language or updated language needed to be there. Because this proposed draft that's currently before us is a complete revision. It's absolutely different than the existing housing ordinance, and it establishes basically, it seems like it's me not paraphrasing. It establishes like 6 smaller housing authorities via the district representatives in each district, and those district representatives would be fully in charge of their district as far as enforcement proceedings, things of that nature. It doesn't really say what relationship there would be from those district representatives to an executive director. It just said it authorizes the board to hire them. There's a number of concerns, or not so much concerns, but provisions that maybe don't belong in here. It removes a lot of tribal land from the jurisdiction of the tribal leasing ordinance, which the tribal leasing ordinance currently only applies to agricultural lands, but my understanding is that is going to be updated and revised at some point to include residential leasing regulations, and if you remove it here, then it's going to kind of be preempted to whatever revisions you're going to do later. Those kinds of changes should be made in like a leasing ordinance or a zoning ordinance or something like that. However, rather than go through our laundry list, what ended up happening in the committee meetings is we were kind of going around and around about whether or not the old language was better than the new language, and if it was necessary, things like that. I think what the legislature, or what Senator Hill specifically had intended was not so much to have that conversation here, but to try to generate discussion within the community, within the districts, as for what maybe the community thought needed to be included in a new ordinance that maybe isn't in the old one, and maybe it is or isn't in the new proposed one, but maybe should be there. So I think that's what we're here to do, and I'm willing to answer any questions that somebody might have. I've reviewed the existing ordinance pretty thoroughly. I'm fairly familiar with the policies and the dwelling places and things like that of the housing authority. The new one I'm somewhat familiar with, and we've all got a copy, so we'll go through it if necessary, try to answer your questions or address your comments.
One thing that I think that, you got some housing owners here that housing is, I think one thing you guys bring up is drug use in those houses. I mean, it's pretty bad, and we can put a, like some kind of steps to remove them if they continue doing those drugs in that house in the ordinance. That's kind of why we came to you guys to get some input, because like you see these houses up there, there's traffic all night long, they're doing drugs in these houses, and you got families that need houses. So that's kind of like why we have this public meeting, because we're doing an ordinance, and we can put it in there. But it's up to you guys if you want us to. So that's kind of why we had this meeting, and talking to the director here about all those issues, and he brought up some good points about the process they're doing to remove them. But I mean, that's kind of one of the concerns I have too. I see it every day. It's getting out of hand.
That news today, they say it contaminates the house. How are they making sure that it's safe for incoming new residents? Is there anything being done?
For example, we test 6 ounces of your car and find trouble. So there's a way to play it. I have my staff trained in better. And these kids that we run for the booster. Try to test all the rooms. I'm ready to application that we take a walk and test it. That's a good one we get. It's positive in some cases where contractors do another 3 more applications on this, and it's still positive. It means that there's a certain level we can send to labs about their testing. And our rating, I think, was like 500. High, I think, so it's even though it's early use one at one time, and that would be registered. So it's our testing process is high, but it's we use it. We try to clean it, but there's some power holes that have holes on the wall. So these holes would contaminate the studs. Some people would want us to clean our houses, and they want their no place to do it, so we can use it as a support them. And release. That's one of the things that I use was to read my report. I like to have the front official support. If you are doing support, you need the listeners to support us. So we all know who some of those people are. But there is one area which we didn't follow. There's 9 homes. 3 of them were in one particular area. And now we're just picking on those 3. We do this, we get the police reports every week. We don't want some of the activities out there, every area, or if everybody. We didn't play that week with the chief of police almost on a weekly basis for a while. So we know where all the drug activities are. We try to test them, and then there's some remediation. We've got there that we model those. In some cases, go bad. It's the concept has been after we have to measure the remodeling. Remodeling primarily most of the rental units, not the neutrals. We want to convey all the neutral homes to the individuals. Their responsibility. This, like our resolution, our policy is 29 years old, 1977. I think there is a time when even in our Constitution, where it says the legislature, we're a TDA, TDHE, tribal designated housing entity. So in this case, the executive. So that's why the chairman signs our contract. And we do have in the housing plan. This plan is how we follow it. That's how we get our federal monies. And now we have to follow that. So it's not that we had a pot of money we can do whatever we want to do. Just go out there and build 10 houses because it's not part of the plan. Every year we have to get together and write our plan. So our plan usually goes in July, so we start planning this in May, June. We come up with our plan. Get it to send to Denver, the head office for approval.
The whole job.
With the new board, they said our policy is not to big people. We have homes for solid people. Our homes, like I always mentioned before, is a pro-way. It's a co-unit of the So that's how we take care of these homes. That's how we take care of and respect them. Some people don't do that. They might not have respect for them. We're not in the eviction business, so we have to evict that many people. And I think we have more evicted people. We're pretty strict on that. There's a lot of people that be homeless right now. So there are people that don't pay their bills, they don't pay their electricity, they don't pay their rent. And they'll say, my neighbor or those people never pay, or those people in Lodge Grass never pay, why should we pay? These people are American. Everybody gets evicted. That's people in Wild, and it always says that. People in Wild are Lodge Grass, you got 100 homes up there. Those guys don't pay, so why should we pay? We're trying to get everybody to pay. So lots of keep paying when we have money to go out there and do the remodeling. The we do work orders. You just can't say, come on, just tell me. Because sometimes I forget it. I don't write it down. I never get to a work order. That work order goes to those young ladies back there, Jessica and Estelle. When they take a work order, then that's where it starts. They prioritize that. They give it to the superintendent of construction, and for them to follow our work orders. And one of the things was, in 2010 and 2011, we were still clearing them out, just as last year. Those were 3 years old. We had 200 outstanding work orders. Some of them said they were completed or finished. We had to go back and make sure that they were complete. Some of these work orders were never done. They were sent to close. So when the HUD comes over and does an outside visit, they see all of our work orders. They want to see the status of these work orders. So we have to go out there and get our crews to go out there and address every one of them. We have our plumbers, electricians, carpenters, our specialists that go out there and try to close them. They've been sitting there open for 2 years. We're trying to close them as soon as possible. And we did close 2010, 11, and 12. And then now we're doing the ordinance of 13 since currently. So that's what we're here. So we're speeding up that process. Any other questions?
Can I just add something real quick? The housing authority does have a policy for evictions and terminations, and it lays out specifically in there under what circumstances you terminate a lease, what that process looks like, how many days it takes. It's in accordance with tribal law, and then what the final eviction process is. If the family disputes the termination of the lease, or they weren't able to work out any alternative arrangement, then it goes to court and it's decided there. So there are processes in place for that, even if they're not used that often. The policies and procedures are located at the Housing Authority, and if tenants want a copy of the eligibility, occupancy, and admission, they can just ask their regional or district ROP rep, or if you're around the road, go to the Housing Authority and ask for it. It's one section of it.